get started. This is always the biggest challenge of the competition. Okay. So we're going to go in order. And the order of the teams is that we're going to begin with the University of St. Thomas, right here, and then followed by BC, Illinois, St. Petersburg, and it's a good thing LMU is last because undoubtedly they are stuck. Oh, here they are. I thought you were on the 405 somewhere.
Oh, no.
No, good, have a seat. Okay, so everybody is present and accounted for. My name is Ruth Kraft, I'm one of the Uber judges. This is my 15th year coming out from New York to judge the competition, the highlight of my year. Let me read you the instructions. You've been called back by the company to which you gave your full presentation yesterday. So you're on your second visit, which means you must have done something good. The company is asking you to speak only about the ethical aspects of the problem and to explain why your solution successfully handles any ethical issues. You'll have 10 minutes and you can breathe easy, no Q&A. I know I torture people. You may not use your slides or your video. It's preparation for law school. And you probably don't want to have more than 2 or 3 of your number actually participate because of the time constraint. So we're going to start with, what did I say, the University of St. Thomas. How many of you were presenting?
2 of us.
Okay, so let's try to get these delightful devices set up. That's always good when the memory doesn't clear. Oh, here we go. Let me do this one. This is the easy one. Where would you like this?
Or yours,
This
fine.
way. Okay.
Yep.
We're good to go.
All right, good morning. My name is Jake, and this is my colleague Brooke, and we would like to thank you, Fitbit Board of Directors, for having us back for a second meeting today. As you recall from yesterday, we walked you through the analysis of the business and the legal perspectives, and walking through these perspectives, you agreed with us on a recommendation to revise your marketing and advertising of your Pure Pulse technology products, as well as increase the research and development of this technology. Today, we're going to be walking you through the ethical dilemma and elaborate a little bit more on our recommendation that we would advise you to use going forward and to get your company back on your feet from the time that the lawsuit has been filed against your company.
As we know, there was a study released looking at the accuracy of wearable products which monitor users' heart rates. These were measured against a medical-grade chest strap, and users' heart rates were monitored during intervals of physical activity. Your Charge HR product was one of the products tested with its Pure Pulse technology and was measured against this medical-grade chest strap, unfortunately at a 20 beats per minute difference from the medical-grade device. This has led to a class action lawsuit. The main problem that your company faces is the misinterpretation of marketing and advertising of your Pure Pulse technology accuracy. This leads to the ethical question, is Fitbit being truthful and respectful to consumers?
And with this main problem and main ethical issue at hand, we would recommend that your company revise the marketing and advertising of your Pure Pulse technology, clearly stating the limitations to protect the rights of consumers' choice to product, as well as fulfilling Fitbit's duties to consumers and society to prevent harm, as well as providing the most honest and courageous choice possible. Looking at your situation, there are multiple stakeholders involved, Fitbit, your company, clearly being one of the major stakeholders, as well as being the key decision maker going forward. Consumers of your product are also a major stakeholder in that they drive your business and they buy your product. Lastly, we look at society as a whole as one of the major stakeholders because we look at Fitbit as not just rotating in a vacuum, we see it as a part of a bigger picture, not just related to your business and your consumers, but society as a whole.
Looking at these stakeholders and analyzing the ethical situation, we are going to use our 4 avenues business ethics framework. This includes interests, rights, duties, and virtues. When we look at the interests, the most ethical thing to do is what is the greatest good for the greatest amount of people. When we look at rights, the most ethical decision is whatever protects the most basic human rights. When we look at duties, the most ethical decision is whatever fulfills moral obligations and responsibilities. And finally, virtues. In this case, we're going to be looking at your company and what character you want your company to reflect.
Starting with an interest-based point of view, we can see it as a cost-benefit analysis train of thought. This would mean, as Brooke said, the greatest good for the greatest number of people. Clearly, your company, Fitbit, has multiple interests at hand, being profitability as a business, as well as providing a well-functioning product to consumers, as well as effective marketing to reach and relate to the consumers. Obviously, the consumers at hand also have some interests involved, most importantly being a well-functioning product as stated, and their well-being in that they are safe in using your products and there's no potential harm caused. Finding the happy medium between Fitbit's interests as well as consumers' interests, we believe that society's interests will be met, and that economic quality will be met, as well as no harm caused to any of your consumers. With this, we would recommend that Fitbit continues the marketing and advertising they've been so successful with, as well as the operations that you currently are. The reason we would pick this decision is that Fitbit has been very successful and profitable with the marketing and advertising you're currently using, and there haven't been any incidents of harm caused to consumers from your products.
Moving on to the rights avenue, as I mentioned before, the most ethical decision will be whatever protects the basic human rights. These rights include the right to life, the right to choose, and a right to fairness. When we look at Fitbit as a stakeholder, Fitbit has a right to market and advertise their products however they see fit. When we look at consumers, consumers have a right to choice. They have a right to choose your product over competitors' products. When we look at society's rights, society has a right to protect its citizens from harm. So looking at these three stakeholders and these rights, the most important right to protect is the consumer's right to choose. With this, we recommend that you change your marketing and advertising and to clearly state the limitations of your Pure Pulse technology accuracy. When we move to the duties avenue, duties are very similar to rights. Duties are moral obligations and responsibilities. For Fitbit, Fitbit has a duty to remain a profitable company. You have a duty to your shareholders. However, you also have a duty to your consumers. You have a right to protect them from harm. When we move to consumers, consumers have a duty to do due diligence when they are exercising their right to choose. Moving to society, society has a duty to protect its citizens from harm. When we look at these three stakeholders, the most important duties to protect is Fitbit's duty to protect consumers from harm and society's duty to protect its citizens from harm. With this, we recommend, similar to rights, that you change your marketing and advertising and clearly state the limitations of the product accuracy in your Pure Pulse technology. Jake will finish with the virtues.
Moving into a virtues-based point of view, you can kind of see this as the company being a person, and that you need to look at the character of the business, related to the culture and the habits that reflect to the consumers who you are as a company and how honest you are with your consumers. There's a list of virtues that you have to keep in mind, which are all important, though some are conflicting. On one hand, you need to be cautious and make moderate decisions as the lawsuit is still pending and the decisions still have yet to be made. So with these two, we would recommend that your company continue with your operations and wait it out, keeping the marketing and advertising you have until you have a concrete decision and the lawsuit has been panned out. On the other half, we have honesty, courageousness, and justice, which all allude to the fact that you need to be transparent with your consumers and you need to give them the full information that needs to be provided for them to have the right to their choice. These three would recommend that your company revise your marketing and advertising, as well as state the limitations of your product to give them and fulfill their right. We would recommend looking at both sides of the spectrum, that your company does revise similarly to rights and duties, your marketing and advertising, and clearly state the limitations of your product. Taking all four perspectives into consideration, I'm sure it is easy to assume that we would recommend your company to revise the marketing and advertising, clearly stating limitations to provide the consumer's right and protect their right to be able to choose with full information, fulfill Fitbit's duties to consumers and society to prevent any harm from being done, as well as providing the most honest and courageous choice you possibly can in the consumer's eye. Thank you very much for your time today, and we look forward to meeting you soon.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And next up, we have